Alright, so hello everybody. So it's been a little while since the last video. So today I figured I might show you guys we can create a fairly simple, somewhat functional menu. In order to show you that the menu actually works, we're going to have to make some new things. So first off, to make a fully functional and pretty much usable menu, I already told you how links work, so it's really important to know that whilst creating this. However, we're going to have to make some new things. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to essentially copy all of this, because we're going to use this, and we're going to create a new site. So you press Ctrl N and Ctrl V, press Ctrl S to save it, and we're going to do some changes to this one. So what I recommend that you do in order to separate all your pages, to make this work the same way as I had it, we're going to make here a new folder, and we're going to name it pages, and in the pages folder we're going to create our page.html file, so page1.html, HTML, there we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much remove all the unnecessary stuff because it's not needed. So we can just like remove all of this, and this is some text, and this is page 1, for example. I'm going to save it, but it's not gonna work. Why? Well, you need to do some changes. So since we don't want to keep re-uploading the same flippin' CSS file we already had, one thing we can do is we can simply reference the CSS file. A way that files are referenced so that you don't have to constantly keep reusing them, like keep re-adding them to each and every folder, because it's just stupid. The only thing you can do is do ... and /, and it will move one directory up and then move into or use the following file. So what I did now is I added like move one directory up, so it will basically do this, and when it finds the logo file it will use it. When it finds the CSS folder it will go in there and find the style.css file. That's pretty much it. That's what the two dots do. So if we save it and decide to open the first page here, you'll see that it has the same styling and the same icon, so it worked. So we have our page 1 pretty much created. I say pretty much, but it's still not fully. So my page 1, so we can differentiate it, and we're going to create another one so it's a bit more interesting, so I can show it off that it does really work. So I'm going to create another one, and we're going to create a new one, Ctrl V, Ctrl S, and we're going to save this one as page2.html, so we can have multiple pages essentially. So page2.html, click save, and again here we change this to, this is page 2 and this is page, or my page 2, and again we now have 2 pages. So if we decide to open up page number 2, it will open up page number 2, which is the page we just created. So perfect, so we now have multiple web pages that we can access. So since we have the web pages, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it all works, but let's say we want to add a menu, a somewhat of a menu essentially. So to have a menu, what I would recommend is we're going to create ourselves a navigation bar so that it looks so nice and stuff. So we're going to go back to our index.html file right here, and what we're going to do is before the heading, at the beginning of the body, I'm going to add our navigation bar. For this we'll be using divs. Now divs can be used in order to create navigation bars and other sorts of things like styling and stuff to make it much easier. So we're going to do div, and then we're going to type in some extra parameters. So we're going to define, I'm looking at my notes currently so I can so I don't mess this up again. So we're going to add here a class. Now the class is important because we'll be defining classes in our files. But the class is important so that we can navigate to stuff. And we're going to name this one, I don't know, top nav. This is the most used one and the most common one, and we're going to give it the ID of I don't know, my top nav, for example. So my top nav. So my top nav, as I mentioned before, and now we're going to use the things that we've learned before with the links. So essentially, we're going to define it as a link to make my life a bit easier and to make it a bit more distinguishable. We're going to create a link that will point us to this file, then point us to the second file and to the third file. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and do the a tag, and in the parameters of the a tag we type in href equals, and we're going to point it to the index.html file, so basically itself, and we're going to give it the class active, because we're going to define an active class, and we're going to close it off, and I don't know, let's call it home, or no, let's call it, yeah, let's call it home, why not? Close off the a tag, and that's pretty much it. Now we're going to copy this, but I'm going to show you a few changes we're going to do to this. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to remove the class active right here, and we're going to change this one to page 1 so that we know what has changed, and we're going to change this to page 2 because we have 2 pages in total. And to reference the pages that we've created, we need to have a look where it starts. So it's stored in our pages folder. So we have to change this href2 pages / and it's page1.html. So let's change that, page1.html, and we're going to copy this. See? I'm going to change this from page 1 to page 2 because we want to open the page 2 thing, not the page 1. And we're going to end off our div here because there's nothing else we need to do. So we'll end it off here. With that said, what we should do now is we need to style it a little bit. So to style it a bit and make it look a bit nicer, we're going to go to our style folder. Style file, and what we're going to add a top nav active, and a top nav a, and a, yeah, that's pretty much it. So we're going to add the top nav, so we're going to do dot top nav do bn, which is the class we've defined before, and we're going to give it the, I don't know, background color to make it a bit more distinguishable. I would like to use regular blue, so let's use that. Oh no, let's use cyan. No, let's use blue or white. Can we use white? Yeah, let's use white. Let's use white. Why not? Actually, white may not work again. To make it fully white, I guess. Actually, white might work. If I saved it, I did. I'm just looking if it's working like it should. Yeah, I just realized my mistake. This one has to be smaller. There we go. So it can utilize everything properly. And I could just use like a different color, but I just don't feel like it. And also we're going to have to add the overflow hidden thing, because believe it or not, overflow is basically the part that you cannot see whilst it's being utilized, which is what we don't want to happen. So we need to make sure that it works like it works as intended. So we're going to use the overflow part, and I'm going to set it as hidden because we don't want this to overflow a part of the site. So if we save it now and reload it, you might notice that it created this thing, and as you can see, it does have the links in there, but we cannot see them at all. So to make them seeable, so that we can see them actually, we need to style the different parts of it. So now we need to take the text essentially, and we need to make the text a bit more nice looking. So to do that, we're going to essentially copy this because I'm too lazy to do that, and we're going to get rid of this. We're going to set the color to let's say black because it's easier to see. But in order to call a specific part of it, we use the A ones as. Actually, let me refresh it so I can see it. So this is our simple menu right here with some styling so we can see it actually. So what we did is the top nav part, which is the part that we see over here. Actually, let me add a bit of can I add a bit of padding right, and let's do 5 pixels. Was it enough? It wasn't. 15 pixels, was it enough? Okay, it wasn't. Okay, let's use margin right instead. There we go, margin was it. So essentially what I did now is let me add a margin and left and set that to 15 pixels as well so that it doesn't look as bad. I'll explain what it does. There we go, it looks much better now. So our menu has been created. So essentially what we have here in our style menu defined here. Actually, let me go back here. So all this is a bunch of links added inside of a div. And the div itself is stylized in this way. So we're calling the class topNav, and topNav has been defined to have a white background color. Overflow has been hidden. Margin right, margin left, basically spacing between the left side and the right side of the site has been set to 15 pixels. So 15 pixels from the left, 15 pixels from the right. And then topNav A, which calls these parts right here from our div and sets their color to black. Essentially sets these to black, and they work as links. So as you can see, that's our menu, but there's a slight problem, isn't there? Well, the problem is that we have the menu here, but not on every single one of our pages. So what you have to do is you have to copy the menu itself and put it on every single one of your other pages. We're going to put it in the same place as we did with every single one of our pages, in the same way, or in the same fashion at least. And we're going to save it to both, because we want them to look nicer. So now if we click page 1, as you can see, we have the same style of menu. Oh, and it got broken. Why is it broken? Haha, well, you see, remember when I mentioned that it is broken in this way? I meant it. So in page 1 and 2, we have to remove these ones, but we have to add it to the index because our index is one directory higher. So we have to do these changes in order to accommodate that these pages are located in a different space. So we need to go back, and once I click home, it now starts working. So we click page, home, page, home. You can see it works perfectly now. So what happened? So look at this part and this part right here. You see what's different? Actually, let me move this down. Actually, can't move it down at all. Can you see what's different? So essentially, one thing you have to remember is you need to know in which directory you are if you're making these sorts of menus. You have to think from the website's point of view. Like, I put my website in a way together that I have separate pages in a separate pages folder, which, if you remember, contains all our other web pages right here, which are page 1 and page 2. And page 1 and page 2 are in the same directory, so I do not have to move directories. However, index.html is one directory higher, so I have to move one directory higher, which is achieved by these 2 dots, and call this file. which home from page 1 and home from page 2 does. And that's a simple navigation bar that works and doesn't look that bad at all. Now, that is like simple navigation and stuff. And we do have some extra links and stuff, which is pretty neat. So this is pretty much a somewhat of a nice looking website. There are still a bunch of things I haven't talked about, and I am willing to talk about those. So this isn't the final video in this series. There will be a bunch more regarding this topic. I'm just trying to get a bunch of videos out because I haven't uploaded anything in a while. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It works as it should. We have a page 1 and page 2 fully functional. Even the icon loads properly, as you can see in the bottom part over here, which is really cool in my opinion. So yeah, that was, I believe, the fourth video, I think, or the third. Like, I don't really keep count. Once I see how many videos I've made, I will number them correctly. But the main thing for me is I get my point across, and I'm showing you some basic development strategies so that our website doesn't look that bad. Actually, you know what? Let's do one more change. Let's go into our style.css, and you remember this thing? Go into the body.html and do this thing for me. So text align center. What will it do? It will align everything to the center and make it nice and clean looking. So this is our website. This is the website that you've created with my help. You can now brag to your friends that you have a fairly nice looking simple website that works, navigation works, everything works like it should. You can go brag to your friends about it. My page 1, my page 2, the titles change. Home, my first website, as I've shown before. And you can use this to create a really simple, stunning looking website if you want to. But it really depends on you. The padding shouldn't actually really be used now that I'm looking at it like this. Doesn't look that good, now does it? Let me just try and remove these and see what happens. Yeah, it doesn't look good at all now, does it? So let's add those back in to give it a bit more of a classy look. But yeah, it looks somewhat good. Again, we can change the width if it's not enough for us. We can change this to 95% to, as you can see, it kind of breaks itself, but we can fix that real quick by using 99% instead of 100%. And boom, that's it. That's our page. It looks much cleaner now. We got the second bar in the way. And also, if we decide to resize, as you can see, it doesn't create the second ugly bar, and you can actually see it. As you can see, it doesn't create the second ugly bar as it did before, with just a simple modification to the code itself. So nothing that difficult. A simple, clean-looking website that pretty much everyone can create, and doesn't take that long to do. For example, if you do not want these to be aligned, you can set each and every different part of this to be aligned depending on your style. However, I like this look. It looks pretty neat, pretty minimal, and isn't that bad. Considering that we started with nothing, it looks really nice. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to stay safe and have fun. And also wash your hands.